I think you actually say, like, how good could Faker have been if he didn't play NA solo queue? Because Beryl didn't. He's a world champion. So I think the problem that T1 ran into, the joke that everyone's making, is that NA solo queue ruined T1. Hello everyone, I'm MarkZ, and today we'll be watching and ranking the best plays from the most recent World Championship sent by you, the fans at home. So let's get into it.
Love that you highlight it, and even more that the observers show it. Koala, however, steps forward a little bit into the darkness. Throws on goes to the sand, Mummy, the showstopper! Into the gravity field! It does not matter! The damage is so incredibly high!
Ming, are you kidding me?
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, Ming is so insane with engaged champions. Like, his Nautilus is disgusting. His set. Oh, he does die at the end. At least Rest gets him back. Only 4 for 1, you know, not bad. Looking at this play, it is obviously a game-winning play. It's a 4-man E that he gets after slamming everyone together. Huge haymaker, like, just wins his team the game outright. So obviously it's an insane play. But when I'm ranking for this, I want to take into account, like, situation, like, how important was this moment, like, for the team. Like, it's only 15 minutes in, Baron's not up, you know, like, the game's over at this point. Was kind of already leaning RNG's way. It's just a group stage game versus CFO, so it's not like a world finals winning play and stuff like that. And then, like, mechanically, this is kind of just what Sett does. Obviously, Ming finds a great angle, so it is a really good play. But it's just, like, not that nuts where I'm like, no one else could have pulled this off kind of level play. So I'll go B for now. I'm going to start the ranking low because I assume there's some crazy plays coming. And we'll just stick Ming in B for now. But, like, maybe that'll go up in a second. But that is just, like, bread and butter Sett combo. It wasn't, like, mind-blowing. I wasn't too surprised to see the diversity of the meta this world. I think the balance team did a really good job with, like, just 2 exceptions being Aatrox and Yuumi being a little overtuned, and only really Yuumi in particular. I think they wanted Aatrox to still be meta. So, like, given that there's only Yuumi that's annoying in the meta compared to previous worlds, like, it was still a huge win by the balance team to create a really engaging support meta and overall meta where there's just so many viable champions and different strategies to play. And I was glad to get out of kind of the Lulu Yuumi. Even though Yuumi and Lulu still got played, it was not like that's all you see anymore. So it was a really cool support meta to see, like, the Heimerdinger come out, the Soraka, like, all these, like, crazy answers that were going. Aatrox is a deceptively hard champion to play. So anyone who's watched that video will, of course, pick up some really good tips and tricks on how to make that one happen. And I will say, it is one of the most viewed clips of an analyst desk on Riot Games' Twitch channel. So clearly a lot of people learned a lot from me there.
Drop all my damage on there, and it's really simple. So you kind of press R, and then from there, you kind of just mash your face on the keyboard, and you just kind of do that for a little bit. And there you go. That is how you play Aatrox in pro play.
Wow. Okay, well, ShowMaker is now very low on health as Peanut's going to face check, but he can do that. Tidal Wave comes through. Doctum looking for his opportunity. Moonlight Vigil is going to find nothing. On the flank is Canyon, but oh my God, the scan of the week! Darwin Kia, they found it one more time. Chovy, he goes golden as now Peanut's trying to do it. Can Chovy get there? Doctum needs to know he's not going to. And Damwon Kia, they may have found their way back in, and they might have just won the series.
All right, so this play, what you don't see is, like, the 30 seconds to minute before it where, like, a bunch of things were not going well for Damwon in this game. You can see they're massively behind. And Canyon did, like, this really long flank around on the Kane, who is just a notoriously annoying champion for being able to run through walls. His Q can hop most of the walls as well, so you just have so much map mobility. And, like, through this entire game, he is so annoying to Gen G, just, like, always flanking, always putting pressure on, and he was, like, farming their topside jungle while you can see that, like, Damwon Kia is trying to, like, get control of this bot river, and it makes this, like, awkward situation where he's gonna come from behind as the rest of Damwon kind of step forward, and they get this pincer move, and everyone tries to collapse onto Canyon because, like, oh, this guy's coming from behind, he's caught out of position, and that sets up that big 3-man knockup because they're all trying to collapse onto him, and then ShowMaker gets the follow-up. Like, this is what makes Damwon so scary, is they're team fighting at any moment, and this is, like, often, like, the LCK thing is, like, they're never quite out of a game because they can always find an angle back into through an insane team fight. The other thing I'll say is that people often flame, like, any great play as often sometimes, like, partially a misplay. Like, you can, you know, go after Gen G here for all grouping up on top of Canyon there with the TP coming in. They're like, kill this guy, and they kind of clearly lose their positioning a little bit. But I will usually, in really intense moments like this, give the credit to Canyon for making the enemy team have to make this weird call between like pressing forward or collapsing back onto him. And yeah, your battle lines start to break down as soon as you start feeling like flanking pressure. So definitely for me, this is like more outplay than misplay. So mechanically, like what Canyon did here is not anything too crazy, but I will say like the presence of mind to be flanking around that entire time, and like what you don't see is the setup to this play, which I think is what makes it really good, as well as just the coordination by the rest of Damwon to be all over that play. Obviously, ShowMaker is the one who gets most of that damage out there with just a huge combo from Syndra. So those two guys comboed together, definitely S tier for me. It was also game 5, talking about like the moment and how important it was. They did end up losing this game, but like they were losing the entire way, and this was like the breath of life to maybe actually find a way to win. Just didn't come through. Canyon and ShowMaker are going to go down as one of the best mid-jungle combos of all time, and both as well individually. I mean, like, Faker and Bangi is another, like, iconic one, right? But, like, I think more people think of, like, oh, you know, Bangi's the right hand of God or whatever they called him, you know? Like, it was a lot about, like, those two working together, but more about Faker. And this one, it really does feel kind of, like, mutual. Like, they're both best in role almost in the world for their position. Like, there's people who bounce up around them. It may not be true all the time. I know Canyon, some people thought he was having a little bit worse of a split and then bounced back for Worlds and whatnot, but like just how insane they both are with carry potential, especially in mid to late game, as well as just early game prowess. Like they're complete players, and that's why they work so well together.
It's not pretty. Cut the tape. All right. Oh, wait, here we go. The 1v1. Honorable 1v1. Jensen up currently 2-0. Faker, can he bring it back? Jensen, can he take the best of 5 against Faker in the 1v1? Oh, he does. That's all that matters. Can he get it? Shuriken flip. Golden. Can he take the best of 5? Oh, Faker coming back.
Oh, God, this play. I was wondering if we were going to have one of the ones where Jensen wins, but no, we have to show the one that Faker wins. Jensen solo killed him like 3 or 4 times. Faker doesn't land a Q2 on this entire play. I don't even know if he lands an E either, E2. I mean, this is just kind of how the matchup goes. Sylas will eventually outscale Akali, and like he had a lot of influx of global gold. And so, I mean, it was really fun to watch, but if you rewatch how many like abilities like of the skill shots Faker actually lands, it's not that many. And it's just like W healing as well as passive damage from Sylas, and he becomes such an insane champion. The ratios on Sylas's kit is absolutely disgusting. And it's God, Sylas, I actually really like playing Sylas, but his kit is kind of gross in terms of just what it can do. I realize I'm sounding like a salty NA fan here because I am. We were already eliminated at this point, you know? So like in terms of hypeness of the moment, it was cool to get the 1v1. And in this game, a lot of people were saying like Jensen's tweet of finally saying he's going to clap Faker and kind of getting the best in for most of this game. As you can see in the picture-in-picture, the game's ending. You know, like this is just a for fun 1v1. It was really fun to watch just because like any Sylas versus Akali duel is just hype. They're flipping all around each other. They all have so many movement abilities. Okay, so what I'll say is from a North American fan's perspective, that play is NA tier because we also lost that game and we were already eliminated. But for just overall play, it was really hype. But I think when you watch it back, it's like, to be honest. They just like he didn't like land that many abilities, and he kind of just stat checked the Akali, who had to do so much more work. He did have a really good stopwatch usage to stop the E2 from the Akali damage coming through. He did play it well, and I think you can also give credit to Jensen for dodging a lot. And just from a viewership angle, it's actually, I think, pretty fun to watch. It's maybe not like the greatest mechanical play of all time, and I feel like I fall into this trap too, where like analysts and Reddit commenters and all of us just like backseat push our glasses up and go, well, actually that play, if you look at it, they could have done this better and that better. But like what really matters is how fun it was to watch. And I think in that sense, this was actually a very fun play to watch, even though you can backseat analyze the hell out of all the things that they could have done differently. Oh God, how much credit do you give NA solo queue? I think you give it none. I think you actually say like, how good could Faker have been if he didn't play NA solo queue? Because Beryl didn't. He's a world champion. So I think the problem that T1 ran into, the joke that everyone's making, is that NA solo queue ruined T1. No, I mean, Faker's insane. This is why he has such a huge fan group, is just like anytime he takes the stage, there's a chance that he's gonna, you know, just make your eyes bug out of your head just watching some crazy outplay. He's one of the few people in the mid lane who has been able to adapt to the times. Mid lane, along with top lane and jungle, like, you know, they support and AD carry haven't changed that much in terms of what they do for their team over the years. Jungle gets a rework every season or two, so obviously those guys need to be on top of the meta. Top lane is like weak side versus strong side. There's like two very distinct play styles, and the champions can change a lot. And same with mid lane, like just staying on top of the meta for this long is so incredible, and being able to be like, oh, it's a Gumayusi Sylas meta, like I'll do really great here. And it's like, oh, it's an angle for Ryze and Azir, great, I'll bust those out. And just how good Faker has been for so long is insane.
DRX circled T1 like sharks, herding them in. T1 didn't find a response. Guma, can he steal it?
Guma will have to fire right.
What the fuck?
Gumayusi steals. I know Pyosik got so much shit for this series for missing a lot of steals. Like, some of them I understand. Here, this freeze frame matters to me. As an analyst, press D. Press D, Pyosik. What are you doing? Like, you have time. Like, it's I don't get it. I don't get it. And like, no flay. This is the World Finals. This is a crazy snipe by Gumayusi. I'm pretty sure they showed his POV, and while there were blue trinkets that were going down, I think he didn't actually, I would have to check this again, but I don't think he actually knew 100% when he should fire that arrow or anything like that. So like, Guma had insane timing. It was able to snipe this one down. It does, when we talk about earlier, you know, misplay versus outplay, like this one definitely falls a little bit more in misplay for me, because like, you can press D right now, bro. So like, I don't know. I feel really bad flaming a world champion after having a pretty incredible series. I know he gets a lot of flack for the smite here, but like his play on Hecarim was actually really good. The fact that he ate so many bans and 5th picked this champion into a really good angle and piloted it very well. I think Pyosik actually had a really good series, but I also don't think that like that means the smites like weren't like, these are not opposing ideas. You can play a really good series and probably also have had better smites. And so for me, this is one of those ones where it was insane. This was game 5. I thought DRX won the game because they won a fight right before this. And so that's like the Pyosik angle was the mistakes. But for Guma, he saved his team here. Like, this series was over before he stole this Baron. And the fact that he stole this gave them the opportunity to potentially still win it. And so for Guma, this is an insane play. Just given the stakes, World Finals, Game 5, your team just basically got wiped and you steal Baron. For me, that makes this an S play. I think it was just everyone losing their mind. The whole arena lost it. You heard Cadril swearing. Like, this moment and how insane it was from going like, we have our world champion in DRX, to being like, oh no, this is still going down. Like, that play makes this series so legendary, as well as a number of plays, obviously, but just how close Game 5 was off the back of Gumayusi steal is why it's such an amazing series.
Timer. EDG now setting up for the dragon. Let's see if Def can land the poke to potentially be a game changer.
Van Q's goes ulti back up, 4K health, should be a clean smite. Whoa, it's gone! Pyosik gets the Ocean Soul! DRX don't need a top laner, they got a summoner spell. Viper attack, stays alive, double stun, Def will not fall! Zeka will not allow it! Going with the quadra kill in his first ever World Championship!
Oh yeah, I remember. Then they wipe him here. Dude, Zeka's such a monster. What an incredible performance by this kid who, like, people knew was like decent, but they weren't ready for him to be this good. Oh my god, he just annihilates the back line. Also, great call by Freak. Yeah, that is like one of those plays where so Pyosik won. Nice job getting the smite steal back there and kind of turning that one around. I am very happy to see he got some smite steals himself. Zeka absolutely popped off. I mean, one thing that you have to be very good at when playing like these melee matchups is figuring out how to get access to the backline here. And like, he kind of flanks down when everyone chases up towards Deft, and he's able to find this backline a little bit when they run forward. Going forward and just hopping on top of Viper, annihilating him. If I remember correctly, I think Viper was having a pretty good game, and just finding that angle. God, this was huge again. God, DRX's story the whole time, you're like, they shouldn't, like, every single time it's this insane play that somehow keeps them alive, or feels like they got robbed, like whether it's Baron steals against them, whether it's like the Nexus inhib respawn backdoor, like all those plays are so crazy. Okay, now that I've seen the final play, I'm going to do a little bit of moving around. I think this was probably the best play at Worlds, just being able to win that team fight from so far behind. That Zeka plus Pyosik play I think goes right up here in terms of like importance. It's game 5. It gives them Ocean Soul. Pyosik gets a steal. It feels like after that EDG are just like a little tilted and they're like way out of the pit is not super clean. And then Zeka just annihilates the backline, who easily I would say was the MVP of the tournament. I think he was probably the best player at Worlds over the entirety of it. And just like his ascendancy from like good, not great player regionally in LCK to like the best mid laner in the world, arguably, maybe best player at Worlds, the entire tournament. Like that growth from him was just like I've never seen that before. So that was such another fun angle for me. Like everyone talks about the depth angle for DRX for good reason. It is a very nice storyline, but for me it was actually kind of the solo lanes, King and Zeka, friends from before, joining up together, neither one having like done anything great in their careers. Neither of them had like finished high in playoffs before, made a finals, really done anything. Whereas Def like had a very storied history. Same with Beryl. Even Pyosik had accomplished a little bit more, been to Worlds before. And so to see these two solo laners just become incredible. Zeka, a lot of people's tournament MVP, and Kingen winning finals MVP for me was actually like as just a fan of the game, incredible to see that rise in skill. This was definitely the best World Championship of all time. I've watched all of them. What this one had was an incredible tournament from start to finish. I don't think that's always the case. There'll be really high highs at some point in every Worlds, but like sometimes that's in quarters, sometimes it's in semis. This had incredible highs the entire way through. The weakest part you could argue was like group stage, because NA and EU just kind of got clapped up and it was very apparent like which teams were going to move on. But even those were still exciting. There were some really good moments, some upsets that happened and whatnot. So I think that part was still great. And then obviously the meta was exciting. Every game was exciting. Even play-ins had some really cool stuff with like LJL beating RNG in a series, or beating like Fnatic and stuff like that with Loud. Like there were so many cool moments over the course of this World Championship that like you could rewatch the entire thing and like be entertained. Where sometimes, you know, like I think there's lulls where it's just like, yeah, that wasn't a very good series. Like we had one not entertaining series the entire way through. No offense, JDG and Rogue, like that was maybe the least entertaining. Even the RNG 0-3 against T1, like game 2 they should have won. T1 has to come back and then win that like situation. Like I think this was easily the best World Championship we've ever had. Thank you all so much for joining me in ranking these incredible plays submitted by you all. If there's any that we missed and you want other people to check out, make sure to leave a comment down below with what your favorite play was. We get a lot of thumbs up on those so people can keep watching other great moments from this World Championship, and I'll catch you all next time.